From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicki.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was, we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the little short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic-stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Ben Dawson, I'm from New Jersey. I know all about hand signals and driving on the road.
Is that right?
I do.
Especially the creative ones.
We have a whole vocabulary when you're from New Jersey.
It's a shame. We should do a YouTube clip to put with this of just you demonstrating all of the ones because we don't have that many in the South. We have like a couple in the South, but they're very demonstrative.
Yes. But on track, I'm thinking my New Jersey hand signals may come across poorly. Just a guess.
I think we should say right out the gate, like there is some series where flicking somebody the bird might get you a DQ from a race. So just saying, be as mad as you want, but things you do in the car can still affect your outcomes.
I tell you, they have their own over in Jersey. They have their own sign language.
That's right.
I don't think I realized you were from Jersey, Bill. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I sound funny is I grew up in New Jersey, but my family's from North Carolina, so I'd spend all the summers and vacations down in North Carolina. So I have this. Apparently, if you take a New Jersey accent and you add in a North Carolina accent, you somehow end up in Ohio, because that was where everybody thought it was from.
That's funny.
No idea.
Splitting the difference.
I have no idea. All I know is every time I came back from the summer, I'd go to school in September. They'd be like, "You need to go to speech class because you talk funny." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I'd go down to North Carolina and like, "You talk funny." And I'm like, "Yeah." Somebody be happy with the way I talk. So now I get paid $0 to do this on the internet for hours at a time. But anyway, so let's talk about hand signals on track. And is there a constructive? Let's go with constructive use of hand signals on track, as opposed to the "I am not pleased with you" signals, which everybody is very familiar with.
Yeah, I think I'll say there's kind of two different arenas for hand signals and the kind of amateur endurance racing and sprint racing and DE, driver education kind of racing we do. In some ways, in some instances, like driver education, HPDE events, hand signals are required for transactions on track. You need to let somebody, let somebody know you're prepared to let them pass you. You point out the window. If they're passing you on the left side, you're pointing straight out the window. If you want them to pass you on your right side, you're pointing up over the car. I'm doing it like neither of you have ever seen it. Why am I doing it? What this is.
How's that? Which was that? Yeah, I think I got it.
But you want to, and in this case, you want to make big demonstrative signals because part of the idea of driving the DE is you're probably not driving at the limit of the car. Nothing that crazy going on. They expect you to have the time and the headspace to stick your arm out, but make it big, stick it way out there, stick it way up over the top of the car, so there's no ambiguity in the person's mind behind you. Like, oh, did that person give me a point? Did I see a point? Because typically, especially if you're in a group that's going to be requiring point buys, it's likely that the driver you're trying to pass probably has an instructor, or the car that's passing probably has an instructor in it, and that instructor is waiting. As soon as they see the flick of your wrist out the window, they're telling that student, go, 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 go. But either way,
especially if you're the instructor.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, if I see a flash of a glove or hand stick out the window, I'm like, keep going.
They twitched. They twitched.
So those are the big key ones in the DE world, and they also work in racing. It's also a nice courtesy in racing, even if you can't get your hand out the window. A wave, kind of point inside the car and let them know, like, hey, ideally, if you're going to pass me, you can go over there. The person passing you in a race doesn't have to go with your point by or your signal. There's no corner workers or policing, in-car signals from racer to racer at that point. They are policing you when you're doing a DE event. The corner workers are watching, and if you pass somebody without a point by, you'll get in trouble. So they are important. They're the currency of track days. In the advanced groups, they're not. Like a lot of advanced groups have, open passing without a point by, or some varying degree of that is less strict than it is in like the novice or the intermediate DE groups.
But you can still do them.
You certainly can. I mean, I'll definitely, if I got enough time and I want to be in charge of how things are going, even if I'm getting passed in a race, I'll stick my finger out the window. And if I'm getting a pass and somebody points me a certain way, if it makes sense to what I wanted to do, I'll take their point. If they point me a certain way and I was already going to go the other way, then I'm just going to hope that they are heads up enough to realize, well, it didn't happen that way, but here's what's happening. But that's, I think another huge one to talk about too is one that you or your instructor can do at a DE or even in a race, is to let somebody know you see them coming. We typically, I think you guys might have a different one, but in this region, we stick our hand up in kind of in between where the two seats would be if you don't have another seat, but just right next to your head. Either the instructor will do it at a DE or the student will, just to wave, say, hey, I see you. I'm going to give you a point by. Not ready yet, but it's going to happen. Just give me a second. Let me get my stuff together. So sometimes it's an instructor doing it for the student because, we're talking about this break zone or we're trying to do this thing. I'm trying to demonstrate something. So I don't be just barreling through here this second. Sometimes that's what it's about. If you see that signal, like the, hey, I see you signal, sometimes it's just, because also a DE is a driver education event. So it just might be that student and instructor are working on that segment of the track. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it could be any reason that you see the, hey, I see you, give me a second wave, but that's also, I would say, it's a pretty important hand signal in our thing too.
Yeah, we touched a mirror.
Touch the mirror.
It
you
depends.
touched a mirror,
like 2 fingers or a hand on the mirror, just to let them know I see you.
Yeah. Well, I guess also that it is a little bit confusing because also, at least around here, if there's a caution coming up, there's not much you can do with your hands except for wave next to your head too, like, hey, watch out, something's happening.
Yeah, that was the other one I was going to mention. Miss Vicki uses it a lot. I've seen her do it on video, and actually from another car, I saw her do it.
Like, hey, there's a problem coming.
Like Miss Vicki, if you're driving up on a yellow flag or something wrong on the track ahead of you, what do?
I put my arm out to the side and kind of wave it up and down with my palm down, which means behind me to slow down because there's something ahead.
Okay.
Window
And
net, window net lemons or no window net?
No
What's
window
that?
net.
No window net.
Can you run a window net?
Not
You
in
can,
lemons.
right?
In lemons, I don't think you're allowed to.
We used to run one. I know I ran one by Barber. I don't know. You should run if you're allowed to run one. Start running one.
Yeah.
Trust me, it's a good idea if you're allowed. I know we used to run them in lemons all the time.
So Miss Vicki, if you're going to do the wave, what if it's a big problem in front of you?
Oh, I got all my hands in front. I mean, if it's a big problem in front of me, the people behind me are on their own because I'm trying to get around it.
Yeah, you're gonna try to survive. You're gonna try to survive it on your own.
That's right. My hands are in. My hands are on the steering wheel, and I'm just like, okay, what am I going to do in front of me if it's happening right there?
Okay, let's assume you have a little bit of time.
Okay.
And it's a big problem in front of you. What are your hands doing?
I don't understand the question. I'm probably the same thing.
Just bigger.
Yes.
Yeah, bigger motions probably.
Yeah.
Waving your hand more like this than just
Yeah.
patting the air.
I almost got a little air when I was doing it one time and coming around, where was that? New Hampshire. It was a big mess coming out of the bowl. And I was just like, whoa. Because
Yeah.
there were several fast cars right behind me and I saw it and it was just like, oh my. Yeah, those are kind of the typical. Is there any other hand signals that people can use? And you can give point buys, especially in multi-class racing. If I see
but
one of the faster cars coming by, I'll give them a point buy and tell them which side. Hey, I see you, and that side's going to be open as soon as we get around this turn. I am not slowing you down.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about signals for.
But honestly, I mean, it's appreciated, but when you're in club racing and you're serious racing, your hand should be in the car, unless things are already slowing down and you're putting your hand out, you're just kind of like that. But in all honesty, point buys are kind of nice. They have to be quick. And
if
they're
you're
already
busy,
looking
you're
for,
busy.
if you're
That's
busy,
understood.
you're busy.
But
right.
if you have time and we wish to, I look at it like this. If I'm in a car, it's a B-class car and there's an A-class car coming in front of me, coming behind me. And I know there's nothing I can do about it. I'm not really racing them. If I have the time and the mental bandwidth to give them a point buy, I know which side they're going to be on, and it's better for both of us. There's no question.
Let them know you see them coming. That's so often the question in there. The question in endurance racing ends up being so often like, do they see me? Can they tell them? You know what I mean? Like it's because so many people on the track. I mean, Chump Car just had 130 cars at Daytona this weekend. I mean, it's a lot of people out there. And you just kind of and so multiply that by 4 or 5 different people driving each car. You just like, does this person see me? It's less of a known quantity than if you're racing Spec Miata in the same region against the same dudes. One dude per car all the time. You kind of get to know, oh, that's them. I kind of know what they do. But it's a big wild card and question mark in endurance racing all the time. The one bonus hand signal I'll bring up is if I want somebody to hit the rear end of my car as hard as they can in the straightaway to give me a little extra speed, aka bump drafting. If it's somebody I know whose car is going to line up with mine, I might kind of wave, give you the come here with your whole hand signal, but backwards, like come with me, like you're pushing forward in the car. That tells the person behind me, I would love for you to hit my bumper when we're both doing 100. 95, 85. I just need a boost. You have more power than me. Will you please just give me a little bump? And this is very rare, but I've definitely done it before. Like, come on, man, come on, give me a shot.
So you're basically saying, "Come on, kiss my butt."
Pretty much. But bump drafting is something that cars can do, like Spec Miatas. I think Spec E30s, cars that have front and back bumpers that will line up with each other. You don't want to come along with Crown Vic and bump, but you don't want to come along with a Crown Vic and bump draft and Spec Miata.
That would be bad.
And I would assume most of the people hearing this are not probably going to be trying to get bump drafts lined up going down the straightaway, but I sure have. It's a nice way to stay in front of the pack.
I was going to say we're a couple days away from Miss Vicki asking for that. I don't see that coming anytime soon.
But yeah, that's a next level hand. It was come on and hit me as hard as you can. Because when you're going the same direction, you're already on a straightaway, likely going to be fine.
So those are kind of the standard hand signals that we use, Northeast and Mid-Atlantic for Ben. If there's any others that we aren't aware of, perhaps you have a unique hand signal that you guys like to use besides the Jersey Wave, let us know, because it's always better when when you signal someone and they know what the signal means.
Oh yeah, sure.
Because the last thing you want to do is give them a signal that means pass me on the left, and they try and pass you on the right, because that leads to a bad day for everybody and people getting unhappy.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks,
Thanks
Ben.
for having me.